Reminder of the news that the BBC has doctored a Donald Trump speech by making him appear to encourage the Capitol Hill riot. Well, according to an internal whistleblowing memo seen by the Telegraph newspaper, the Panorama programme broadcast just 1 week before the US election, quotes, completely misled viewers by showing the president telling supporters he was going to walk to the Capitol with them to, quote, fight like hell. Well, here is the Telegraph's Gordon Rayner explaining.
He played the following clip.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell.
But Trump didn't, in fact, say this at all. The BBC spliced together two clips that took place 54 minutes apart. So let's go through it again.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you.
Now, see there, between Capitol and, that's a cut. Here's what Trump actually said.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
It's different. It wasn't until nearly an hour later that he then said the second part of the BBC's version.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we fight. We fight like hell.
Absolutely astonishing. Let's now speak with GBNews Home and Security Editor Mark White. Mark, we broke this story just before the top of the past hour. This is nakedly abundant to see. That spliced together footage to paint a completely and utterly different picture from what was originally said. Gordon Rayner, fantastic scoop, the BBC, I'll put it to you. Bang to rights.
Yes, I mean, the thing about, television news journalism, there's a big creative element to it as well. So while, of course, journalistically, you've got to be very accurate, when you're building up a documentary, you want it to look as creative and impactful as possible. But the difficulty here is when you take two clips of a speech and you make it say something completely different to what was clearly the intention in what Donald Trump was telling that crowd. Not that they should go down to the Capitol Hill and fight, but they should go down to Capitol Hill and cheer on those brave congressmen and women within Capitol Hill. So completely different interpretation is drawn from the edited version. And this is important because what it does is it highlights some real concerns about the impartiality of the BBC, in particular, of course, that flagship programme, Panorama, that the BBC is rightly proud of, that has made so many impactful documentaries over the years. And now some really serious questions to answer. This was a great scoop by Gordon Rayner at the Telegraph, who received what is a 19-page dossier, a whistleblowing dossier, highlighting not just this, but other issues around the coverage of Gaza, around the way in which the BBC reports on the transgender debate. These are important issues which the dossier say the BBC has been not impartial on, but has actually been, in the coverage, taking a very partial view on that.
OK, let's have a quick reminder. I think we have those clips so you can see them side by side. Let's take a little peek.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
They're completely different, Mark. They are completely different. And Gordon Rayner said a third clip had been spliced in of the Proud Boys marching on Capitol Hill from an hour before the speech, just about that further pinch of spice that this was Donald Trump inciting a riot.
And made to look like the Proud Boys were specifically reacting to his speech. In the dossier, it says, if I can just read from that article, they said that Panorama's distortion of the day's events was so egregious that viewers would ask, why should the BBC be trusted? And where will this end? That was in the dossier. Now, this dossier was presented to Panorama. Panorama's editors did not accept that they had done anything wrong at all. The dossier was then given to the chairman of the BBC, and no reply to this date has come from the chairman of the BBC. It was also handed to every member of the board, and as far as we can tell, there has been no meaningful reply from the BBC at all internally to the dossier, and certainly to the Telegraph. We heard from Gordon Rayner before saying that, you know, they gave out a bland, short statement that said absolutely nothing. Now, this is important, I should just add, because, of course, the BBC Charter is coming up for renewal in 2027. The BBC is currently, of course, in talks with the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, about the options going forward. She has said nothing is off the table in terms of the future funding of the BBC. So clearly issues like this don't do the credibility of the BBC any good at all, and certainly won't help it in its efforts to secure the best possible outcome in the renewal of that charter.
Well, why, it's a breathtaking decision, let's put it that way, by the BBC. Thank you very much for bringing us up to speed.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cybercriminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GBNews discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GBNews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
And let's now speak with the former BBC presenter, Danny Kelly. Danny, this has just taken my breath away. We have two completely different versions of history, and this appears to be the BBC doing what it seems to do best, some might say, putting top spin on to paint Donald Trump in the worst possible light.
Martin, I've been fortunate enough to do freelance work for GBNews for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've mentioned on your show so many times that the BBC will push to the front of the queue anything bad news about Trump, anything bad news in my time about the Conservatives or Brexit. But this is remarkable. This has taken my breath away. I'm used to stories being buried, Martin, but I'm not used to stories being so distorted to push this liberal anti-Trump woke agenda. This has literally shocked me to my core. I just cannot believe that Panorama, the flagship programme, Martin. This isn't some little local regional poxy radio station that's decided to bury bad news about a Conservative administration in Walsall. This is the flagship Panorama BBC programme that has deliberately distorted actual truth and facts in order to push a narrative and to push an agenda. And the thing is, Martin, it's not just one producer. There would have been a team of people behind the scenes. There would have been someone who spliced this audio and video deliberately. They cut it in pieces and then glued it to distort and mistruth and lie. I cannot believe that, and what a great expose, by the way, but I can't, even someone who's critical of the BBC and their agenda, and it's true, they have an agenda, I cannot believe that they've done this. It's taking my breath away.
Yeah, it's a fantastic scoop by Gordon Rayner. When you see his video where he lays out, Exhibit A and Exhibit B, I mean, they are so different to be the point of not really being comparable. But Danny Kelly, Mark Wise has said in this 19-page dossier, there's more. It could be worse. They're also critical of the Gaza coverage of the BBC, something you and I have spoken about numerous times, and burying criticism of the trans movement. Danny Kelly, we're waiting to hear from the White House. Gordon Rayner told us that they'd contacted the White House. The White House were expecting to comment at some point today. I'll tell you what, mate, I think Donald Trump might do more than comment. He's got a big checkbook. He's not afraid to use it. Could there be a massive legal case against the BBC?
The BBC deserves it. It reaps what it sows. I mean, if it does something so deliberately, Martin, and this is the arrogance and this is the contempt that people at the BBC behind the scenes and in front of the camera have for people who may feel differently about geopolitics, like you and I may do, and GBNews viewers. This is the contempt they have. They felt so comfortable in their studios to splice, deceive and lie. And this is what people need to understand. They've been caught with their pants down. Now, if Donald Trump wants to do something about it, they should do. I read today, I think the BBC have put the licence fee up a couple of quid on all days. On all days. It's gone over 180 quid, 15 nicker a month, Martin, whilst people are trying to heat up their homes and houses. But look, if Donald Trump took some sort of litigious action against the BBC, good, they should. It needs to be exposed. The curtain has been pulled on a worldwide scale. Now people can see what it's like behind the curtain, Martin. The BBC need to be held to account. I remind you, I'm used to, on a regional level, having good news stories about Brexit being buried under the carpet. I was used to that. But I was never used to people deliberately deceiving, lying and splicing videotape to completely change a story. It's a disgrace.
Danny Kelly, I think you're speaking for the nation there when you say that. Thank you for joining us at short notice on a huge breaking news day. Danny Kelly, always an absolute pleasure. Thank you, my friend.